All right, guys. Second topic of the day. Let's give it to Trevor. What's your topic, dude?
So my topic is I've had this idea that I wanted to kind of bring to you guys since before I even brought up enrolled in the tier. I wanted to discuss with you guys, or you guys to discuss, if you take the kind of the three big failures of the three big companies right now, the Wii U for Nintendo, the Vita for Sony, and then the Kinect for Xbox. I kind of want to rank them and figure out the pros and cons and what went wrong, because like they're all following up huge predecessors. You know, the 360 Kinect was great. The Wii obviously sold 100 million units. The PSP sold 80 million units. Like what went wrong, and kind of figuring out which is the best worst of those three items.
I mean,
that's a great question.
That's a really good question.
360's Kinect being great.
I remember it like flying off the shelves. I
did fly
didn't
off
have a
Oh,
360.
Okay.
Yeah, but like it sold like crazy. And I've been talking. I've brought this up with a few people here at the event, and people are like, yeah, I bought a Kinect 360, and I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Right.
No one does. That's
Exactly.
the problem.
Kinect Adventures. You get in the little fucking little.
Remember that? Remember that?
Disneyland
Weird
Kinect
stuff.
in there.
There was Disneyland Kinect, yeah.
I think the problem with all three of them is that the three companies misread the success of those three things and why they were successful. And then they try to force an iteration of those down everyone's throats. I think that, commercially, PSP, the Vita is the most successful of those three things. Now, that's like saying one piece of shit on the market is more successful than the other piece of shit on the market. Like, the market didn't want any of these things. But I would say that Sony was most inclined to follow something up with something that was going to be successful, but they missed the boat with the Vita because, especially in their home market, no one wants this. No one's playing Vita. Now Vita's coming back in Japan pretty strong, but it's too late. They play cell phone games and mobile games over there, and anyone who's been to Japan can notice that in 2 fucking seconds. They don't. 3DSs are even pretty rare. I mean, you're seeing most of the people on trains play with their phones. So I actually just think that all three of them are just misreading market trends and trying to capture lightning in the bottle again.
The Kinect's the interesting one that stands out with that, I think, to me, is the fact that, I remember it selling well for 360, everybody hating it, but everybody being like, the next one will be great. Where Kinect Xbox One got off track is when they gave in.
They bundled it in.
As soon as they buckled and were like, all right, we'll take it out of the box, don't worry. Every fucking developer was like, peace out on this hardware. We don't need to. It's the same reason I think now Morpheus is going to fail, is the fact that it's not bundled in.
It doesn't come with it, yeah.
The install base is going to suck, so why would you make a game for it? And I remember the day Xbox was like, yep, we're putting out the Xbox One without the Kinect. Here's the new price point. I remember Harmonix tweeting, being like, awesome. Because they were still working on Fantasia. Is Fantasia even out yet, by the way?
Yeah. It came
Jesus
out.
fucking Christ. That game took forever, and then nobody cared because exactly what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? Where it was like, I don't need my Kinect anymore. Yay. And we all disconnected until we need it for Skype. It's like, well, fuck. Why would I care about this? You know what I mean?
But it's timely because they just came out and Phil Spencer said today that he's still supporting the Kinect.
But that's like somebody said in the chat, right? Of like,
Live.
well, that's like Sony saying they still
Exactly,
support the Vita. Like, there's a big difference there.
Yeah. Between actually doing something about it. And like that sucks though, the fact that it's not bundled in. They're not. I mean, I don't know if that sucks.
It does.
because-
I mean, for me, it's a market thing. It's a free market thing. I did not want Kinect.
Yeah.
I did not need Kinect, and I got Kinect, and I was like, all right. And then they fell away, and they take it away, and that's where Xbox in general has gotten off track. Is that they clearly had a vision for what this system was going to be. It's going to be exactly. It's going to be your entertainment machine, voice controls, all in one. Connect all this stuff. They came out and got hit hard from the gamers, and then Sony at E3, and they immediately started bending. They had no belief in their vision from the top down.
Yeah.
And that's when everybody saw through them, right? If they would have committed and been like, awesome, congratulations, glad Sony's going that way. This is what we're doing, and we believe in it. Different story, maybe, but like right now, I have an Xbox One out there that I love playing State of Decay on and a couple other games, right? But I play games on it, and that's it. And that's because it's a game machine. And for all intents and purposes, Xbox has also said it's a game machine. People watch Twitch on it, sure, but I watch Netflix and YouTube on all my other machines too. It's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I got to stand up for the Wii U. I know it gets a lot of hate, but at the end of the day, to me, it is exactly what I need it to be. It has a lot of issues, and the user interface is fucking garbage and all this stuff. Personally, I love the gamepad. I love being able to play the games just on it. I think it feels right. I like that it's big. And when it comes down to it, it has the games I enjoy: Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Mario 3D World, Smash Bros. That's what I like.
Portello.
And those games are just polished, and they're as good as they need to look. Like, we don't need PS4 or Xbox One level graphics for it, because it's like, this is HD Mario and it looks amazing. Like Mario 3D World's beautiful, Donkey Kong beautiful, all these games, and to me it's like, all right, these are great, but it isn't the Wii. You know, it's in terms of success and all that stuff.
And that's what I always go back to with the Wii is the Wii, I think, is viewed as a failure, right? On the fact that I feel like it missed everyone's perception of what it was. I think Nintendo built it saying, we're going to have the same success. I'm sorry, the Wii U is, we're going to have the same success as the original Wii. So we'll make it this casual looking machine that does this. And this is where I always go back to them being a toy company. They think of themselves as a toy company, not pushing the limits of video games. Meanwhile, the audience is like, audience being us, the hardcore gamers, are like, now it's going to get back to what I love about Nintendo, the hardcore games and stuff. And it's somewhere in between all that, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't the super casual look, but it is still a casual-ish system. And it wasn't the super hardcore thing. So it's in this weird middle ground where it's like, well, it's a failure. But it's like, did Nintendo expect Wii again? Or did they expect this Wii U thing that's more in line with GameCube? I don't know. You know what I mean?
I think, sorry, my Northeastern's calling me again to donate money because I don't owe them $70,000 already.
But that was for your world-class education.
I know, thanks, guys. Again, this is all about these companies misidentifying why their systems were successful. The Wii was wildly successful, 102 million units, I think, sold, which is an extraordinary success. Yeah. But Nintendo should have been smart enough to look at the attach rate of the Wii, which was poor. To look at the sales of some of their first-party games late in the generation, which were poor. A game like not Twilight Princess, but Skyward Sword didn't sell well, considering how many and we've talked about this before. It just didn't sell that well.
I have it. I never opened it.
And
I'd already put my Wii away by the time my family got it for me for Christmas.
Exactly. Oh, wow. And it's like 4 or 5 million units or whatever for Skyward Sword with 102 million Wiis, or at that point maybe 95 or 100 million Wiis. It's like, that's not going to cut it. Like, you have to identify why the system was selling, and the fact of the matter is Nintendo didn't identify that Wii was selling because it was part of the zeitgeist at the time. It wasn't because it was a good console. It was because it had good games that people identified with at the time, and then they never played games again. And that is why the Wii sold. When I saw the Wii U numbers a couple weeks ago, I was floored. I couldn't believe... I knew it wasn't selling good. I couldn't believe it was that bad. 9.2 million units? I was like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, Dreamcast was on the market for, I think, a less amount of time and sold 1.1 million units more, and the Dreamcast is considered a huge failure.
Yeah.
You know? I think people don't want to call the Wii U what it is because it's Nintendo, and I think that it's not Nintendo's first failure. The Virtual Boy was a huge fucking bomb too. It's like, you're gonna have these things, but they're between a rock and a hard place now because no one's gonna buy the console. Like, Mario Kart and Smash Brothers didn't sell Wii U's. Nothing else is going to sell Wii U's. Zelda's not going to sell Wii U's. Yeah. And obviously Splatoon and all these other games are not going to sell. Star Fox, they're not going to sell Wii U's. It doesn't mean that the games are bad because, like you said, the quality's high. The games are as good as they've ever been. I mean, Nintendo has a high quality polish. They don't need to patch their games. They believe in QA and a polished experience, and we all appreciate that. And other companies can learn a great deal from how Nintendo does business in that regard. But man, they really shat the bed with the Wii U, and it's obvious as the day is long. You know, they're going to struggle to reach 12 million units, I think, and that is bad. The GameCube sold 24 million. You know what I mean? So the GameCube is a failure. You know, and it's sold more than twice as many.
Yeah,
units.
That's insane. I think the biggest problem with the Wii U is that it's still, years in, doesn't have the game that makes you go, oh, that's why there's this touchpad.
It's missing the killer app.
That's why there's,
I feel like they did the same thing, right? Where they came and kind of pumped the brakes on it.
Yeah.
You think Star Fox is going to be that?
No,
like,
I don't.
That's
honestly,
that seems
Star
to be
Fox,
everything I've seen says that's what they're designing around
Mario
that
Galaxy,
app.
right?
But that's the problem though, is it's like
it took that
what it's
long
going
to
be
get it.
is a shitty Star Fox game. Like, it's going to be a Star Fox game that you're forced to do all the stuff that you don't want to do. And it's like, well, shit, could you have just given me a Star Fox game? I would have much rather that. I hope that's not true, because I love Star Fox, but I think it's going to be just super gimmicky, and it's just like, here's that game that this is why you got a Wii U, and it's like, okay, well.
See, I sit here, and I don't have one yet, but I'm planning on getting one maybe when there's a price drop, because there are a lot of games I want to play on it, but I haven't hit that tipping point where, like, there's enough games on there that I want to spend the still $400 on, I think. 300? 3 something.
50, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Is it that
Money
much
means
still?
nothing,
Holy
right?
Christ.
Yeah, 300, I think, still.
Wow.
And I'm like...
That's incredible. I thought it was like 189 or something.
Because, yeah, I mean, Nintendo
Just
never
giving
drops
away.
the price on anything. So, like, all the games are still super
Yeah.
expensive, too, even if they were launch titles. So it's the kind of thing that I'm interested in it. And there are a lot of games that, like, I see
300, yeah.
Toad...
Treasure
game,
Tracker,
Treasure
yeah.
Tracker. And I'm like, oh, that looks like a great like interesting new game kind of thing from them, because a lot of it I grew up with Nintendo. I was a Nintendo boy. Then I've had every system except the Wii U, and I just like at some point I grew up and switched to PlayStation and Xbox, and those are where I go for my gaming experiences, because I got tired of like nostalgia could only carry me so far.
Exactly.
When playing Mario and Zelda.
I always tell the story, when I was down, I always tell the story about, for me in high school, there was a moment I remember distinctly, like a homecoming dance or something. I ran into somebody I had gone to grade school with, or junior high, whatever you guys call it, whatever you normal people call it, who didn't go to one school your entire thing. And we were talking about video games and if I was still playing video games. I'm like, yeah, and I'm playing, the N64 right now, but I'm starting to worry if video games will be with me forever. Because is this all it is? And And like, I loved my N64 and I loved the games I was playing on it, right? But they were cutesy and cartoony and they were like the 3D platformer kind of thing. And then I had picked up a PS1 and I found Metal Gear. And I was like, that was like my light bulb moment of like, this is the future of games in terms of them growing up, being able to tell you a story, be able to affect you emotionally. And then like, everything that it's become now and everything else. That's what was one of the main things that kept me going, right? And that's how I've always looked at Nintendo and why I talk right now. And I don't ever mean to insult them when I say they're a toy company. I don't mean it. They make awesome toys. I love playing with their toys, but I love playing with their toys twice a year. You know what I mean? With the exception now of us doing all these Let's Plays or whatever, when we're playing kart or something, you and me are going to do one-offs and stuff. But that's not like the experience that's speaking to me as the consumer to be like, well, now I need to go buy all this other stuff, blah, blah. And as a Sega kid, the Amiibos don't do anything for me either, right? So it's like, I understand why people love Nintendo, but then there's always this thing of just like, are they still producing the content you want? Like, I don't know.
And it's a testament that their games still do come out like working.
Oh, yeah.
Like, none of their games ever come out broken. There just aren't enough of them to... without the third-party support.
Something you said earlier, though, about Nintendo's games is like they never drop in price because of that, though. It's because they have that quality and they're not annualized things. As much shit as people give Mario for coming out, it's like every year or whatever. It's like every year a different style of Mario game comes out. Like Mario is in a lot of different titles, but if you can't look at two Mario games coming out year after year and compare them and be like they're the same game.
Mario's always that Trojan horse of it, right? Where if you want to be like, Nintendo never innovates, they innovate all the time, but they just put it into the franchises you already know and have.
Yeah.
And granted, sometimes it's an awesome success, like when people loved Metroid Prime, and other times it's
a
another
suit.
M or something.
But it is what it is. But it's crazy to walk into a Best Buy and see New Super Mario Bros. On the Wii still be full price. You know, and it's just like that's because that game doesn't deteriorate in quality over time, where I feel like a lot of the other games do, because there's a new better version out, whereas like with Mario there's not a better version, there's just a different version. So
I mean my personal take, and we've been vocal about this, I don't think there's very little right about the Wii U, and I think it's more about the hardware, and that it was clearly not ready to come out, and that they rushed it to market, obviously, and the games are great. When I play Wii U, it's great, but it's like getting it to work. It's using that fucking clumsy ass controller, and like, I'm so annoyed because I love that company. I know people think that I don't, but I do. I grew up with Nintendo. They were everything to me as a kid. I almost just want to shake someone and scream in their face and be like, "Wake up!" You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't double down on the same old thing over and over again. You guys really need to get back to basics. And the sad part is that they've done such a great job of isolating and alienating third parties that they are on a ship by themselves now, And so the Wii U is not only going to die, it's going to die a slow and painful death.
Alone
on the ship by itself. Because
the ship's just going out to sea, no captain. It's in the cargo hold.
And that's the really sad thing. Like they just don't do a good job of, they didn't do a good job with the online infrastructure. I remember when Wii U came out and we first got the Wii U, I was like, wow, this thing is in really bad shape. Like the operating system barely worked. It took like forever to go from menu to menu. Remember this stuff? I was I can't believe this. And then the third-party games came out, but like there was no support for them, and even games that sold well, like what was that Ubisoft launch game? Zombie U. They were going to make a sequel, and they're like, "Fuck this," and like games that were announced didn't even come out, like, or they just canceled, like Alien, when Alien was, which was a shitty game, but Colonial Marines was canceled, or whatever.
Or the games that did were remakes of games from like 4 years ago.
Yeah, like and then Mass Effect 3 and like the third Mass Effect game, the second Batman game was like, what the hell is going on? Like, it was really obvious. I think a lot of people had their heads in the sand when that thing came out, where it was like, wow, like console gaming is dying and console gaming is dead, and I'm like, I don't know about that. And obviously we know for a fact that that's not true, because PS4 and Xbox One are both doing great. But I get really concerned because I think the die's cast now for this company. Like NX is going to be whatever it is. I have no idea what the hell it's going to be, and they're making cell phone games now. I don't think we're that far away from them just making games for other platforms. So it's like just wholesale, and I feel like that might be utilizing their strength, because their hardware is not working out. They make dynamite games, just fantastic games, and we talk sometimes about how Metroid, for instance, really isn't a huge seller. We like Metroid as hardcore Nintendo fans, but Metroid does not sell. That's why they don't make them. Yeah. So, when they can make a Mario Kart and sell 10 million units, they can make Metroid sell 1.5 million units. They're gonna make Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So it's. But imagine if Metroid came out on Xbox One and you found a whole new audience and a powerful machine. You let the visionaries at Nintendo, the talented guys over there and girls, that with the graphics and all, and they're able to utilize power. And they don't have to worry about hardware anymore. They can really just worry about making games. And that, frankly, there's already one step in that direction, or multiple steps in that direction with what they're doing with DNA now. I just am so sad with what's happening with Nintendo. It really bums me out. People focus on the financials, and that's not what's really important. Yeah, they're gonna make money. They're gonna be fine. And when these games come out on DNA, they're gonna make a fucking shit ton of money. But that's not the concern. Is this the company that we grew up with? No. Is the company ever going to be the same? I don't think so. And is their pride really getting in the way? Yes. So it's a bummer. All these companies trip up or whatever, but it hurts the most when Nintendo does it, because we need a healthy Nintendo.
What's funny in the comments,
in this hardcore industry.
What's funny and what the comments are going to call out about it is the fact that I think Xbox gave in too quickly, and we're saying Nintendo didn't give in enough. They're like, where's the middle ground, right, of answering for your crimes and changing the course? And is it, again, PlayStation? Not to fall back to us, but like that PlayStation. I always go back to that February PlayStation conference where they said all the right things. They played to their fan base. Like, we're about games. We fucked up. Sorry, the cell was so hard to develop for. Here, PC people, this is how easy it's going to be to bring your games over. Maybe that was the right way. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think it's different for like different, just different identities with these companies, and therefore different things that they have to identify when they're making mistakes or when they're having successes. Someone there should have been like, the Wii U is not a good idea. The name's wrong. The tablet's wrong. It's underpowered. It is not ready for prime time. We should have waited to release it. They wanted to get it out before the other guys got their consoles. That was obvious. They got it out before anyone even announced anything. That's how scared they were. And I don't necessarily blame them. And also, they were dealing with a Wii that was dying very quickly. I mean, everyone forgets the Wii died like in 2010. For all intents and purposes, but was still trucking along. And you got like the Conduit 2 and all sorts of random shit, but like nothing was really coming out, and people didn't really care about it anymore. The attach rate was abysmal, and people put their Wiis away because the thing wasn't supported. And they're like, we need to get something out.
It's the Smash Bros. Box.
Yeah.
Exactly. And at the time too, 3DS was really struggling, and it wasn't clear at that time that the 3DS was really going to be what it is today, which is a great success, and it's a great machine, even though it's underpowered and a little weird. There's great games on it.
Yeah.
The great vaunted library of 3DS games.
Of course.
And Wii U has its great games too. When I sit down and I can finally just play a game, I enjoy it, but it's difficult sometimes, I think the problems with Sony is Sony didn't identify that PSP was being bought by mostly people that wanted to homebrew with it. And they identified a thing where they were like, well, it's 80 million of them. Certainly we're going to sell at least half that many Vitas.
Yeah.
And then they made the Vita, they locked the Vita up, which is smart from a business standpoint, but they didn't identify that people weren't buying PSP for the games.
And see, that's an interesting point that you bring up a lot. I've been a lifelong gamer. I had a PSP. Never knew until you guys started talking about it here on Beyond that was well after I was into the Vita that was a that was a feature of the PSP that could be exploited. Yeah, jailbreaking it.
People broke the shit out of the PSP.
I don't doubt that they did. I just don't know how many people did, because I mean, essentially for me, it was my Final Fantasy device. I played like the remasters of the first couple that they did. I played the Dissidia games. I played Crisis Core, and like far more World Series of Poker than I thought I ever would. And Tactics, Final Fantasy Tactics. Of course.
War of the Lions.
Yeah, that was great. But like that was what I used my PSP for. I never knew about the jailbreaking until after it was long gone. I ended up buying 2 because in the best experience and lesson I've had for like keeping my temper, when I was really frustrated when I would lose a battle in Dissidia, I would like slam my PSP on the mattress of my bed. I would just be like, ah, damn it.
Yeah.
And then eventually I overextended and hit the box spring and cracked it. And I was like, well, there's a $300 lesson to not do that again. And so I've been much more.
UMD just pops out and fucking.
It was almost split in 2. So I was like, well, damn it. But I still want to play those games. So I went and bought a second one. So maybe I'm part of the problem. Even though I wasn't jailbreaking it, I ended up buying 2.
Well, that's not necessarily you're not part of the problem. You're buying them to play actual PSP games, whereas I was buying them to fucking play Mario World.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that there's just like certainly there were people that I bought the PSP without knowing about the homebrew, but this was a long time ago. I was in college.
Me too.
But PSP by 2009, 2010 was a joke basically because people were just destroying, like really just putting on old firmware and doing all sorts of fucked up things to it. Yeah. And I really do think that's why it sold so long. When it came out in 2004, 2005 in different territories or whatever, it was selling very well based on its own merits with the Grand Theft Auto games and all that kind of stuff. But
Tony
eventually, there was a lot of
portable Tony Hawk. Oh my god,
there was a lot of good games early on, but the support really did stop. Like there are still PSP games coming out, but the support stopped to be pushing these things off the shelves. And I think that the experience in Japan's a little different because PSP is still selling there, and until recently, and they're still making big games for it. But no one was buying PSP games here, so. I again, like just like Nintendo misidentified the success of the Wii, Sony misidentified the success of the PSP and why it was happening. So the Vita was ill-conceived. I'm glad that they did it because the Vita is a great machine and it's sold, I don't know, 10 million units maybe, something like that. They don't really talk about it. You have to assume it's in the 10 million unit range.
Like the last time there were a number given, it was like around 9 million. So I imagine, and that was I don't know, that was probably around PSX. So it's probably back up higher now.
Yeah, like you have to assume it's okay, right? It's a fucking huge failure, and I'm sure they ate it when they released it or whatever with just the R&D costs and obviously the cost of manufacture.
But if you look at the attach rate, that
that's the difference.
The whole console model, console and game model follows like the razor blade model where I got my razor blade for free when I turned 18, but I've spent hundreds of dollars on Gillette replacement blades. So like that's where they're getting their money. They get the money in the games and the attachment. So even if they don't make money on the system, and I think that's why Xbox went and dropped their price, was because they can take a hit on the console if they can start getting sales moving on everything else. They can get the money back that way.
Yeah, definitely. Man, PSPHacks.com was my homepage on my browser for like 2 years, just because every day I wanted the update of like, oh, now there's this new thing where you can play these games now, and it was just so good.
I mean, you could upload things where it was like you could add every NES game, every SNES game, every Genesis game. I mean, like it was insane, and you didn't have to do anything other than like toggle through them and then select it, and it would just appear on your screen. And it's like,
and you're just playing, and you can like change the screen settings and all that stuff. I'll never forget replaying through Pokemon Red and Blue, and I set it so that the R button turned turbo mode on. So I could just go fast. So I'm running all fast and stuff. I'm like, this is the fucking best. Skipping through all the bullshit. PSP
was something special.
Best thing.
The PSP
was
so special. I'm glad, selfishly that they misread the market, but just like I'm sure Wii U fans are glad that Nintendo did because there's something special for them there. But I'm sure that both of those companies have a lot of regret for what they've put out into the world and that they have to kind of deal with it. Sony's to the point now where they can start phasing Vita out, and I think they're going to soon, where like they can probably be like, all right, that's time's up now. Wii U is still new enough, being a year younger, that Nintendo has to hold on for a little while longer. People that own a Wii U are going to be like, well, you abandoned this console, and why should I trust you again? And that's definitely a legitimate thing. And I don't think Nintendo's going to abandon the Wii U, but I'll be interested to see what happens with it. And then with Kinect, everyone hates on Kinect, but everyone loved it when it came out. Like that was the thing. It was like people were really high on Kinect. I remember in the office, I was like, this is stupid, and everyone was.
You're talking about 360 or
360s. Okay. And then they again misread the tea leaves where they're like, yeah, you sold it because it was fun for a minute. This is not what people want forever,
Yeah.
And I agree with Greg, and we've talked about it before, where I'm almost a little disappointed that Microsoft reversed course because I wanted to see what would have happened if they didn't. The vision wasn't solid enough for Don Matrick and all those guys for them to be like, well, we're going to stick with it. But what if they did? And what if they're like, no, this really is the vision, and you're really going to like it, and here's why, and we're going to give you reasons. Instead, they're like, oh no, forget it. It was all after they revealed Xbox. It was all reactionary from there. Xbox One. It was all reaction from there. It was all like, oh, we got to cut it out. We got to cut the price and blah 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 blah. And it's like no DRM and all these kinds of stuff. But I'm like, what were the strengths of it? Why did you do it to begin with? Why can't you articulate that message? It was disappointing because I really thought that there was going to be two different horses in the race.
That would have been an exciting race to watch, right? Whereas now it's like, okay, we're back to the boxes being pretty much the same. They do pretty much the same thing. And do you like trophies? Do you like achievements? Where's everybody playing? Great.
But your second horse in the race then is Wii U.
That's true.
That horse is limping.
It's just a lame horse.
The guy with the shotgun is catching
Going
up.
the wrong way. All right, guys. Before we move on, we are sponsored this week by Topps Cards. Star Wars Card Trader is the official Star Wars digital trading card app, available now exclusively on the App Store and Google Play. So you can open, trade, and collect cards entirely online. You don't need to deal with any like open up booster packs and doing all that stuff. It's really
That takes
cool.
me back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
right,
they got
smell.
remember the OG Star Wars cards, like
The
the
customizable
top
card
ones.
game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
the tops like
Oh,
collectible
okay.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get all the OG ones from the original Star Wars movies.
Nice.
They're coming out with the new Episode 7 ones. So this is it's pretty cool. You can have them all digitally, and they have a bunch of like cool special functions and stuff too. If you want, you can go over to tops.com/kindafunny, and you can get started collecting today. And that's tops TOPPS.com/kindafunny.
You get an exclusive Watto card.
You do not get an exclusive
Caption.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not yet. We'll have to talk to them about that. But you can get 5 or more free packs per day.
Ah, damn.
For a limited time only. So definitely check that out. You can get the first cards from Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and it's gonna be great. So definitely check that out.